So, talk to me about for most of the people that are going to listen to this podcast, they're either going to be entrepreneurs, aspiring
Mm-hmm.
entrepreneurs, they'll be
Yeah.
inside some of these brands that maybe are looking to sell. And I think, there's not going to be many times in their lives where they can get a real insider's view into how this process works, right?
Yep.
So walk me through. I'm a brand. I reach out to you and say, "Hey, Shaun, I think it's time, right? I want to explore kind of selling my company."
Yeah.
What does that process look like, kind of beginning to end?
Yeah. So the answer is it can look very differently depending on what your goals are. So we start working with companies that they may even be interested in. They're 100% owned by the family, the entrepreneur, or maybe they've taken on some friends and family capital or angel round to get off the ground. And they may be looking to sell a small stake in their company. Oftentimes they've never done that, so they've built their company over years and years and years, or a decade, and they've made the decision. Hey, I'm ready to do something different in my life, and I want to sell, and I'm willing to help transition with the company, but I want to go do great things, right? I want to travel the world or do things that are charitable, and so really we try to sit down and understand what your goals are. Is it succession planning? Is it I'm only going to sell to a strategic, or I'm willing to sort of contemplate that private equity round and sell to a strategic. I want to transition the business. Strategics love to buy companies from founders, but there's always that question of what's going to happen when the founder leaves, and I think the best situation you can put yourself in if you're a business owner is have an answer to that question, right? Who's going to take over for me when I inevitably want to move on and do something different? Now, there's cases where founders have stayed on at big beauty companies for a long time. Look at Bobby Brown and Estee Lauder, Francois Nars at Shiseido, and they've lived, Wendy Zomner at L'Oreal, and they've lived rewarding, wonderful lives inside of the big strategic. There's certainly lots of cases of the opposite where people wanted to walk away right away, and those brands have thrived and had tremendous success inside of the strategic. So, I think if you're a great business and you're highly desirable in the market, there's the buyer's going to figure out a way to make you happy because they want to buy your business and they want to do the right thing. They're making a big financial bet on the future when they make an acquisition, and so really understanding what they want as the entrepreneur, and then building the plan for them to help them achieve their goals. And anytime we design a process, we design it with the goal in mind for that. Well, whether it's a founder entrepreneur or certainly if it's also got private equity involvement.
Yep.
More often, that's a much more clear-cut case. If a private equity investor is in the business, they're looking obviously for a big sort of strategic outcome, usually in this part of the world. So the advice to the founder, I can't say enough, and this probably sounds very simple, and maybe you've heard it before, but find a good accountant, hire a good accountant, hire a good controller, implement. There's no excuse from day one to not have good books and records, whether you start with QuickBooks or NetSuite and then you migrate over time. It's very simple to implement cloud-based accounting software.
Do you run into that often where it's just a mess behind the scenes from a financial perspective, or not too often?
There's some, usually folks have kind of gotten religion around QuickBooks. They may not have done it right away. Then they struggled with it. Usually by the time they get to us, they've figured out some accounting work. But they always tell a nightmare story about how they wish they had done it differently from the start. So my advice is, start right now. But and it's not just, I'm not saying that about accounting so that you can balance your corporate checkbook. I really mean because take and utilize accounting software and understand the KPIs, right? The key performance indicators. What are the levers in your business? What are the things that you need to monitor? And unless you start with a good foundation of tracking your business from a financial standpoint, right? Building proper books and records and journal entries and all that good stuff that unfortunately I think makes a lot of beauty entrepreneurs' eyes glaze over. But you don't have to do it. Just hire somebody that will. Because it's not about making my job easier to sell your company. It's really about understanding your business, right? Are you profitable?
Yep.
Is this retailer profitable? Is this channel profitable? Are you making money in e-commerce? Are you making money on the sale of a single product? Which actually is a nice segue into my next piece of advice, which is not original to me, and I believe Mr. Lauder would say this as well. Make money right away. Don't develop a model where your first transaction is a loss leader. We're not in the software business. We can't have some sunk cost that ultimately the output is an infinitely scalable product at 90% gross margins. We make something, we sell something. We need to make it at a price that's at a margin that works. I would say generally 60% gross margin or better. And your cost of acquiring a customer shouldn't be more than you sell the product for, and whether that's online or on the shelf. And these things are simple. You'd be surprised at how often they're not sort of held to, or they're violated based on another thought or a proposition of build it and they will come, or build it and we'll get, and scale will make up for margin. It just never.
I mean, you see that with the venture dollars coming in, right? You've got venture dollars that are traditionally used to investing in software companies, which is is no marginal cost to add a new license for the most part.
That's exactly right.
I
think there are cases where those venture dollars in consumer brands, consumer companies have worked, and there are probably more cases than those that they're struggling because they developed a model around too much capital, and probably didn't develop a unit level model that made money. And there's a difference between losing money right away when you sell a product and actually making money at the unit level, but then using capital to scale a business that needs growth capital. Mm-hmm. Very, very different. It's perhaps sounds subtle, but it's very different. If I need working capital to grow my business, but at the unit level I make money, that's certainly something that's favorable. But to raise money to fund losses on day one because I don't make money on my fundamental product, I think that's a tougher road. That's a tough road.